YouTube channel. So, thank you for joining me, whether you catch me live or you catch me later. I appreciate you all, and thank you for liking, subscribing to this channel, liking these videos, subscribing to this channel, and sharing these videos. It helps the channel a lot, and I appreciate it. So, let's talk about today. Today's April 21st, 2023. This is one of the big milestone days for this year. So what do we have going on today? In the sidereal system, which I primarily look at, so if it sounds like the degrees and sign placements of the planets are wrong, don't get too upset. I'm using a different zodiac. I'm using the visible sky zodiac. So if you look up towards Aries right now, Jupiter and Mercury are actually physically there, but in a tropical, well, they're in the early degrees of Aries. In the tropical zodiac, which is what the mainstream uses, let me see here. Jupiter would already be at what, 24 Aries, and then Mercury's out in the Taurus. So don't get too upset. I'm using a different zodiac. I'm using the physical, visible sky zodiac. Okay. So let's get into this. So big deals today. Jupiter transited into Aries, Mercury stationed, and it's starting its retrograde at 21 degrees Aries. So Jupiter's at 0 Aries, Mercury's at 21 Aries. A lot going on in Aries. Yesterday, we had the solar eclipse. 5 degrees Aries, conjunct with that fixed star, Alrisha. Again, sidereally speaking, visible sky reckoning. That was a big eclipse. That eclipse was all about giving us the potential to have our ideas, because Aries, what goes on in the head, about leadership. Aries is all about leadership for the whole world. It's about how you lead yourself in your life, if you're up to that challenge. And it's about leadership for the whole world. So these clowns, these politicians and religious leaders that we often give our power to. So it was all about having our ideas of them totally turned on our head. We had the potential for that, or we had the potential to just sort of double down on our delusions. It's all about whatever we want to do. So there was that. It was all about exposing secrets of leadership in this world. Because also the ruler of Aries, Mars, sidereally, is it's at today 19 Aries. So it was probably 17, 18 Aries during the eclipse. So Mars being the ruler of Aries, it's in Gemini. Mars is in Gemini. Mars is in Gemini, 18, 19 degrees Aries over these last couple. 18 or 19 degrees Gemini over these last couple of days. See, it's Mercury retrograde. I'm having trouble getting my words out the right way. So Mars being in Gemini, Gemini is mass media communications. Mars is a surgeon, a warrior, also a detective. So Mars is digging through all kinds of shit flying out in the media, people getting all kinds of steamed up about it, getting all kinds of worked up. So, yeah, Mars is bringing that energy to its home sign, Aries, from what it's doing over in Gemini, and it's tearing through communications and mass media, possibly causing some trouble with travel and, the markets, which are up and down and all kinds of crazy. So you've got all that going on. So a lot going on here. So let's take Jupiter first. Jupiter takes 12 years to do a full orbit, to get around the zodiac. So Jupiter is, in ancient times, it was called the night sun. So it's the bright, except for the moon, it's like the other brightest luminary. Jupiter, when it's visible, it looks like a big giant star. It's very bright, very easy to pick out. And so Jupiter is the night sun because it's a smaller luminary at night. but it has this resonance with the number 12, like the sun does. So the sun takes 12 months to do its transit around the zodiac. Jupiter takes 12 years, so it's like on a higher octave. And it's interesting when you go into, especially since it's been the predominant religion in the West, you go into Christianity. It's very apparent that Jesus is a sun god, but Jesus is also Jupiter too, because you have these 12 helpers. So the sun with the 12 signs, that's Jesus, that's the sun god with the 12 apostles, the 12 helpers. But then Jupiter also has the 12 helpers, the 12 signs of the zodiac. It just takes 12 times longer for Jupiter to transit through them all. So Jupiter, it runs this 12-year cycle. And so it's pretty interesting. This 12-year cycle that Jupiter runs, it really resets things. Now, what's Jupiter's role? Jupiter, mythologically and actually scientifically, Jupiter is a protector of the Earth and humanity. Scientifically, it's been shown that Jupiter will actually suck in comets and asteroids, objects that could threaten the Earth, because Jupiter is almost a miniature star. It's a gas giant and kind of a miniature star. So its electromagnetic force is so strong and its gravitational pull is so strong that it'll suck in these sort of wandering objects that could threaten the Earth. Then mythologically, my ancestral spiritual tradition, you go into the Germanic mythology. Jupiter is Thor, or Donar, Thunor. So commonly known as Thor, this god Thor is, in the movies and the comic books, he's kind of depicted as a muscly meathead, but he's a god of the mind, and he's a priest. And the priesthoods in the old days, they would basically stand aside and let the aristocrats, the royals, the jarls, all those people, they'd allow them to do their governmental duties, and the priest and priestesshoods would administer to the people's spiritual needs and guide the people. But when government leaders and political leaders started abusing the people, then the priesthoods would often go to war against the governments. And there was a lot of fear around this, because the priesthoods, they had a lot of secret knowledge. One of the things they studied was the human mind, the human subconscious, the human unconscious. They studied the natural elements. They practiced martial arts in secret. They trained with weapons, but they had their own ways of doing it. And because they could do this day in and day out, they were very proficient. So they often scared the regular warriors and the political leaders, and they really didn't want to go to war with the priesthoods, because that could easily turn the people against them. So Thor is this priest that goes to war to bring the balance back, the balance between order and chaos. When there's too much chaos, brings the balance back. When there's too much order, and there can be too much order, it's called tyranny, Jupiter Thor brings the balance back. And and just generally protecting the people, god of agriculture, god of fertility, hallows, things like marriages. So that's Jupiter. Jupiter is the spiritual teacher. Priests, priestesses are spiritual teachers. We're spiritual teachers. So there's that going on. Jupiter is a bestower of gifts. Where things go, where Jupiter goes, we get gifts. And the ironic thing, because, the divine language, you could say, is irony. Jupiter will give you more gifts than you want. You'll start getting the gifts, and then they keep coming, and it's almost like you can get too much of a good thing sometimes. And that's a lesson in itself. So Jupiter is restarting the cycle of the zodiac, which it does every 12 years. So think back to where you were. I made some notes here. Last time Jupiter entered Aries was May 2011, and its cycle lasted until May 2012. And then cycle before that, Jupiter transited into Aries sidereally again, June 1999, and its cycle of the zodiac lasted until June 2000. So that was a big, that was a big year for me. I was thinking about this morning when I was intending to make this video. I kind of, I made my deal at the crossroads, so to speak. You know, the blues musicians talk about making the deal at the crossroads, kind of making the diabolical pact to get your success. So yeah, that happened to me. I was graduating from high school, wanted to go to the Naval Academy. I'm kind of a dunce at standardized tests, and I don't like the way math classes are taught. I think it's the most boring fucking thing ever. So I needed more work on that stuff. So I was graduated in June 1999, and then I went for a 5th year at, well, another prep school, Kent School. And that's an interesting school. Actually, I like that school, but it's a feeder into Central Intelligence. There are alumni events where, you know, the event is called like Kent and the CIA, and you can go to Washington, D.C. and have a dinner with these CIA veterans who are fellow alums, and they'll, you know, regale you with stories of their careers. Because, you know, Kent historically was a feeder into Yale, which is also a CIA feeder. So it's an interesting place. You know, one time during my time there, Sir Richard Dearlove, so this is back in late 1999, Sir Richard Dearlove showed up. He was the director of MI6 at the time, also an alumnus. So he showed up for a tour. One of my classmates was walking him around, and he had George Tenet with him. George Tenet was the American CIA director who was definitely in over his head with a guy like Dearlove. Tenet looked like a deer in the headlights, and Dearlove looked like a man who's very much in possession of himself. You know, it was very, very deliberate. He looked like he knew what he was doing. So, you know, I walked by the two of them, you know, on just like a path, you know, on the campus, and I was like, what the hell? So yeah, and after that, I got to enter the Naval Academy, and all kinds of weird shit happened. You know, I was a naval intelligence officer for a brief period, and I learned a lot of stuff. I saw a lot of stuff. So I paid for success with all kinds of suffering, we'll say. So yeah, that was a Jupiter cycle for me. It was that, you know, 99 until 2011. And yeah, and 2011, 2012, I was finishing acupuncture school, got me on that whole path. So yeah, these Jupiter cycles, when Jupiter comes into Aries, Aries is about beginnings. Jupiter will give you gifts, bring new beginnings, especially dealing with whatever house that is. If you don't know what house Aries is, I'm happy to give you a reading. It's a great look at your life. So we got that going on. And then when you get into the Mercury retrograde, the Mercury retrogrades are all about going back and reviewing things. So about taking the second look, about reintegrating information that our intellects have absorbed. So Mercury in Aries is going to be dealing with our thinking about leadership and our thinking about things that we want to get done in life, because Aries is the fire under the ass in life. So we're going to be thinking about, what do we want to do? How are we going to do it? When are we going to do it? And then the whole world is going to be, running a fine-tooth comb, taking a close look at the leadership in the world and all of the, their lying and manipulation, all the things they do. So, yeah, I do believe, well, I don't just believe it, I see it. Deep state is going down. And there will always be some sort of a deep state, but this one's gotten completely outrageous. This one that's run by these globalist, wealthy, Anglo-Saxon Protestant types in America and Britain who've been trying to bully the world for the last 75 years. So that shit's going down. So yeah. Now on this day, my handy dandy notes here. Oh yeah, now another thing, let's go back to Jupiter for a second. Now another cycle. Jupiter in May 4th, 1929, Jupiter transited into Aries. And, excuse me, no, that was the, I'm all kinds of lost here. Yeah, May 4th. May 4th, 1929, Jupiter and Rahu were conjunct. So Jupiter and Rahu, the North Node, haven't been in Aries since 1929 together. Well, you jump forward to October the 24th and 29th, 1929, you had Black Thursday and Black Tuesday. Stock market crashes, bank runs after that. It's all kinds of economic chaos. So Rahu, the trickster of the pantheon, Rahu is Loki, Lucifer, comes from this word Luca, which is a flash of lightning, flash of brilliance, intellectually and spiritually, intuitively. Rahu catalyzes evolution. Loki catalyzes evolution. So and this is in the mythology, when the gods get self-righteous and stagnant and they stop growing, Loki steps in, Rahu steps in, shakes things up. So to do this, Rahu or Loki can just, because this trickster, Rahu, Loki, this North Node, wants to show us things, wants to just blow things open and show us all the secrets. Now, it can help catalyze evolution if we're spiritually in tune. It'll just show us things and be like, here's what's really going on. If we're really doubling down on our delusions and like the face value of the world and we're just believing what the television says, the actions, the disclosures of Loki, Rahu, the North Node, are very painful because we're stagnant and we don't want to take in new information. We don't want to grow. So it's all up to us. It's all about where you're at. So I think a common factor between now and 1929, we're very spoiled, we're very entitled, and it's like our purpose for living has just become buying things and, and just indulging ourselves. And, you need pleasure. You need pleasure to live a happy, fulfilling life. But you can't go too far with it. And we've done that. And it was like the roaring 20s were like that. It was just, like a decade of excess. So, and we've been in like a 75 years of excess. So we're going to get some lessons. It's not going to live up to the paranoia, but we're going to have a tough decade in some ways. It's going to be the toughest for people who just can't imagine that the good old days just won't continue. So, but yeah, so 1929 things are coming back around, some 1929 themes. So history's going to kind of repeat there. So yeah, so jumping back to the Mercury retrograde, Mercury, so it's stationed today 21 degrees Aries, sidereal. Well, it's conjunct with the fixed star Menkar. Menkar is located at 20 degrees Aries, sidereal. So let's look at Menkar. Menkar means the nostril. Has Saturnian energy of Saturn. It's all about limitation. It's about challenging lessons in life. So when you have challenging lessons in life, You can become wiser, or you can become hardened. You can take it personally and harden your heart. So that comes down to attitude, really. Um, Menkar, when you especially you get Mercury conjunct Menkar, deals with difficulties in communication, things in writing. So, like contracts, agreements like that. Difficulty in paying mortgages, destruction of crops, ill health of partners. So this could be a marriage partner, business partners. So pretty interesting there. We're definitely, with the U.S. with these document leaks, spying on its allies, that's causing some difficulty in partnerships. U.S. has always been spying on its allies. I remember, being in the service, it's something I learned, and I wasn't shocked because it's like, well, look at all this fucking surveillance capabilities we have. And if you're a country like South Korea that is all angry because the U.S. is spying on you, it's like, well, what do you think was going to happen? You're being given this military technology, this communications technology, or it's being sold to you by the U.S. It's like, you don't think they've put all kinds of back doors in it so they can spy on your every move? It's like, don't be fucking naive. But they have to do that. East Asians are much less naive than we Westerners are, but they have to save face, so they have to make a big deal about it. So yeah, and so that's the gist with Menkar here, and then this Mercury will actually, when it stations, when the retrograde's over in 3 weeks, it'll be conjunct a fixed star called Hammel. Hammel is the forehead of the ram. So rams are headstrong. They butt heads when they fight. So it's headstrong, it's aggressive, brings violence, opposition, premeditated crime. It also deals with protectors of the community, um, possibly capable leaders. And Hammel's energy is Martian and Saturnian. So Saturn and Mars together, it's like explosions, it's oil and fire, and it's setbacks, combativeness, all that kind of stuff. So, and then so Mercury going back, retrograding to Hammel. So Hammel is at, was it 11? Yeah, it's at about 11 Aries. Mercury conjunct Hammel, it deals with great determination, high energy, but a dull mind. And it's like, well, society's full of these people. It's like, turn on the news, watch what Congress is doing. Great determination, but dull minds, most of them. It's like the feds are like this, federal agents, the military, a lot of high energy and great determination, but dull minds. Look at the way the world is. Look how the government acts. And then, also to go with that great determination and dull-mindedness, somebody who is greatly influenced by others and impressionable. That's a dangerous combination. So through this Mercury retrograde in Aries, because Aries is, combativeness, warfare, fighting. It's the head. It's headstrong, can deal with stubbornness, but, perseverance. We've got this, we've got a war in Ukraine, which the Ukrainians are losing, but the propaganda is saying the Russians are losing, which is ridiculous. And then you got the United States basically saying, well, we might just go to war with everybody. So it's like they're making it look like they're making plans to go to war with the Chinese Empire in the South Pacific. And well, we might go fight the Russians. Oh, we might go fight the Iranians. It's ridiculous. It's to scare the people, keep the people on edge. Now, another thing with this day with Jupiter transiting into Aries and Mercury stationing to go retrograde, Mars, which I mentioned, which is in Gemini, which is giving this energy of like this detective combing through the media and communications and all that stuff and spilling a bunch of beans. Mars on this day is conjunct with the fixed star Sirius. So Mars is at 19 Gemini, Sirius is at 20 Gemini in sidereal. So Sirius is the energy of Mars and Jupiter together. So Mars has the energy, the ambition. Jupiter has the expansiveness and the optimism, like the gift giving. So Sirius deals with ambition, pride, love of power, grandeur. It gives renown, privilege, honor, health, devotion. It's a star of guardians, custodians, caretakers. Sirius in ancient times, get this, was called Prince of Princes or Prince of the Kings of the Earth or King of Kings. Well, who do they call King of Kings, Astrology's a lot older than Jesus, so, this stuff goes around. And, religion's all based on astrology and things get borrowed. Sirius gives the goodwill of men and spirits of the air. So, a lot of stuff going on with the air right now. A lot of these crazy UFO, UAP incidents. There was this light over Ukraine and nobody could explain it. There's strange lights in the sky everywhere, but people in Ukraine are more sensitive for good reason. And you've got this whole possible fake alien invasion that, deep state and the globalists running deep state might try to roll out to unify the world, bring world peace. So yeah, spirits of the air. Now, interesting with the air too, as Mercury is stationed on this day, it is conjunct Uranus. Uranus is only 2 degrees away. Pretty good conjunction. Uranus deals with the air, deals with breath, deals with electronics, technology, earthquakes, upheavals, rebellion. So, yeah, pretty interesting. So this basically Sirius conjunct with Mars, giving Mars the ability to really shout some stuff out into the media. So yeah, people will be all kinds of pissed for a good long time. All right, let's see. Oh yeah, another thing too, Sirius gives people the power to pacify figures of authority. So we need this. We need figures of authority to sit down and shut up a little bit, because they're micromanagers because their corporate sponsors want them to be micromanagers. We need these fuckers out of our hair a little bit. Sirius gives a famous death and posthumous honor. So honor after death. Well, like I've said before, this whole deep state, and the globalists and their little fucking scams, it's like a Viking funeral right now. They know they can't win. Klaus Schwab has said, we're not going to meet our goals for this great reset, but they're going to try. It's like in the Mission Impossible, the Impossible Mission Force, IMF, International Monetary Fund, IMF. Possibly a little, play on words there with the IMF, who knows. Sirius gives great creative talent in any field, but gives you more power than you can handle. So it's kind of a Pandora's box. And that's that Jupiter energy. It'll start giving you gifts, but it'll give you more gifts than you want potentially. And I think the global elite they have so many technologies and so much ability to kind of get away with what they want. Well, that's their undoing because it's made them arrogant and lazy. And having the baby boom take over as the ruling globalists, it's a good thing because they in the younger generations, we've been raised to be kind of lazy and spoiled and entitled and wanting instant gratification all the time. So it's an undoing for the globalists. Can signify great man or woman, great leader, or psychopath, because psychopaths are often perceived as great leaders. So, whoops. I want these timers to go off. Cooking some food here. What's the other thing I wanted to say? Yeah, I think that's about it for Sirius. So, interesting thing I looked up. Um, Robin Williams was born with Mars conjunct Sirius. So Robin Williams, he was like the funny man. Everyone thought hit the appearance of him was that he was a happy guy because he was so funny and he made everybody laugh. Well, then really behind the scenes, he was very depressed and he was suffering, and he committed suicide. So the world is on the brink of, basically revealing, the state it's really in and what's really going on. Um, Kind of a Robin Williams effect going on here. Okay, so yeah. And this is just hours after this solar eclipse conjunct Alrisha, which was the well rope. So it's, the well rope going down into the well with the bucket on the end to bring the water up. So, and Alrisha, it's the well rope, it's the crux of the matter. It's like we say in American English, like throw me a line, throw me a rope, throw me a bone. Give me some information and help me to understand what's going on. So, a lot of this in the astrology. All right. I think that's pretty close to what I wanted to say. I'm gonna go check on my food and I'll be back. Thanks for tuning in.